I thank you guys for joining this video, and we also want to say thank you so much for all of your prayers. It's kind of been a tough time, not just with the coronavirus, but obviously because of Missy. But we do want to ask that you guys continue praying for her. She is currently at home and she is resting. So we just want you guys to keep praying and keep doing what you're doing, because I know there are a lot of you that are part of the church that are reaching out and helping in all kinds of different ways, with food, with cards, and we ask that you keep that love coming, because she absolutely loves and appreciates you guys being a part of all of this. So we just kind of want to talk a little bit about 12 Rules for Life. It's a book by Jordan B. Peterson. It's the Bible study that we were doing during Sunday mornings. And what we're going to do for you guys, because we got to Rule 6. So we got to Rule 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to review those first 6 chapters, those first 6 rules. And then hopefully by then everything will be back to normal.
Doubt it.
Well, then we'll just keep doing this. Of course, I know we're a little bit late to the party. My apologies for that. But we put
the pro in procrastination.
Thank you for that. Anyway, there were a lot of people that were asking for us to do something like this to kind of get the young adults class kicked off again.
A lot of people like his mom.
You just can't help but you just can't help
and
yourself.
And
Starla. Exactly.
Shout out
Boom.
Starla.
There you go. Okay, so not
2 is
just
a lot now.
We hope that you guys want the same, that you guys also want to take part of this Bible study. And what we're also going to do is we're going to try and make it a little more interactive. So after every discussion question, I'm going to do a brief pause. We're talking like 2 to 3 seconds, so that you guys can pause that video and you guys can take the time to discuss it amongst yourselves, because we want you guys to not only listen to what we have to say, but we feel like you guys have a lot to offer as well. So we'll get kicked off by starting with the rule, of course. So rule 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back. Right, so this is something that we've all heard throughout the entirety of our life, especially considering we're all in front of our little computers and we like to slouch like this. So the hope is that we not only get to be your parents for today by telling you stand up straight with your shoulders back, but we also get to tell you why it's so important and just how deep that is. So the first question is, what does standing up straight with your shoulders back mean to you? So I'm going to have Lauren start us off with what she gets from that question, and then we'll kind of move forward from there.
So whenever I think about the phrase stand up straight with your shoulders back, I instantly go back to my basketball years. I'm sorry for those who aren't sports people.
It's okay. I'm not. You're good.
So you're going to listen anyways. So I remember whenever I was doing basketball and we were in the locker room before a big game, maybe we were playing someone who is really tough, someone that we probably didn't believe ourselves that we were going to beat, that the coach would always say, stand up straight, put your shoulders back, and play like you have a chip on your shoulder. So to me, that meant we were not confident in ourselves. We didn't trust in our abilities enough to go out and deliver. But by putting our shoulders back, standing up straight, you kind of are faking it till you make it with that concept. As far as you may not feel confident within yourself, but the people around you, your competitors or people you work with, are looking at you like you are a confident person. And eventually I feel that you look confident to other people, you continue standing up straight with your shoulders back, then you start to deliver, you kind of get a little confidence in yourself, and it's kind of like a snowball effect. And you just keep rolling and hopefully just keep winning at everyday life.
So you know what that reminds me of?
What?
Lobsters.
Red Lobster?
No, not red lobsters. I love you for that. I tried to be funny and then you ended up coming out with something weird. Okay. No, like lobsters, like, of course, in the book, you know? So in the book, 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson talks a little bit about lobsters and kind of the way they work. And they're really interesting creatures in the sense of they maneuver in steps throughout like battle, and that's very similar to what we do in life, right? So the first step in what lobsters do is they're kind of feeling each other out, right? They have this weird liquid that shoots out of their eyes, and that's the way they feel out their opponent. So for example, like I would be able to tell if I had that lobster's ability how tall you were and how strong you were, and kind of a little bases of what you're capable of. Now, the second one would be they start moving, they start inching in a little bit closer. And then you have the third one, which is then they start to grapple with each other and they try to flip each other on their back. And then they inevitably start ripping each other's limbs off. So it gets pretty violent pretty quickly. So the point that I guess I'm trying to get to with all of that though is, yeah, there's a build up, and there's kind of a build up with us as well, and that's what you were talking about with the confidence, is the fake it till you make it. The confidence starts to get a little bit infectious. You build off of that, and then hopefully you win the game and you get a little more confident and you get better because of that confidence, because you're standing up straight with your shoulders back, because it all started with you just kind of trying to fake it, right? Now with the lobsters, after they win a battle like that, what ends up happening is they end up extending out. They end up being more intimidating. They're like, their back stretches out, and you could tell by looking at a lobster which one is the winner and which one is the loser. Because what ends up happening is you have the loser that will shed their skin, and they're more frail and they're more shriveled up. And so you see the difference between the two, and we really want to express importance on the relationship between that and how we act. Of course, I'm not calling you guys lobsters, but I think we can learn a thing or two from them, considering that we react in a very similar way, right? Let's say if you didn't do that, if your coach didn't tell you to stand up straight with your shoulders back, you went out there and you lost a game. What's likely to happen?
You lose confidence. You shrivel up.
I mean, have you ever had that happen?
Yes.
So, yeah.
100%.
So tell me about that. Sorry, I'm not like...
But whenever you lose, first of all, you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
You think about what happened in the game that could have went differently.
Mm-hmm.
What you should have done differently. What so-and-so should have done differently. And you don't feel good about yourself. You feel like a loser, because you are a loser.
Always very blunt. I love it. I love that
You just
about
lost
you.
a game. You're a loser.
Yeah.
You know, at
You're always
what you tried to do that day.
You're always a winner in my book.
Okay. Anyways,
Okay.
keep her going.
You're fine. Man, I'm trying to be sweet, and you know what? Forget it. Okay, so second question. Okay, remember, after each question, pause that button. We're going to give you guys a couple of seconds.
Find you.
Oh. And she's very intimidating.
And we will pause the button for you.
Exactly. Okay, so second question is, how does this relate to how we present ourselves as Christians? Okay, so
Hit pause
3,
now.
2, 1. Okay, so with that being said, how does this relate to how we present ourselves as Christians? Lauren?
That is your question to answer, my dear friend.
Wow, I tried. I definitely tried. Okay, so as far as how this relates to how we present ourselves as Christians, something that comes to mind is the Matthew principle, which is also talked about in the...
What?
You're gonna say something. I know you're gonna say something. It's from the book.
What?
I can see you like itching to make fun of me about something. She catches me on the slide every single time. But the Matthew principle, and that is found in Matthew chapter
13.
Yes.
Gonna start in verse 10.
You are awesome.
10 through 13.
Yes. Please and thank you.
And the disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" Jesus answered them, "To you it has been granted to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been granted. For whoever has, to him more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has shall be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because while seeing they do not see, and while hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand."
Okay. And so what all that means is that you obviously you have this sense of understanding, right? And it says here, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. So you have the disciples that are obviously walking with Christ, that they have this, they kind of have this insight.
They were with him.
Yes, they walked with him and talked with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had more insight than those that, like, say, if Christ went into a city to teach or preach, the disciples had more insight than those that he was teaching.
Exactly.
They were given that gift.
Yeah, and they still didn't understand some of the parables that were spoken, some of these things that he tried to dumb down for us with things that we could relate to, and put it in and teach us spiritual things. And that was something that he was trying to help us understand, is that it's not something that's going to be easy for us, that sometimes spiritually we can become poor, we can be bogged down by worry and fear in times like this. And I want us to remember that you know what, I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it again, because I feel like that's super important for us to understand. So, for whoever has, to him more will be given. So the more that you reach, the more that you win, and you can use it in the perspective of souls, right? The more that you reach people, the more you see that you become more encouraged as a Christian. And I want us to observe those individuals that are more active, because those that are more active, you see how every win is like something that motivates them, something that pushes them. And and instead of being discouraged by the ideal, what I want you guys is to embrace that, and I want you to reach for that as well, because the biggest ideal in all of this is Christ. And Christ wants you to be the best version of yourself. He doesn't want you to be scrambling with fear. He doesn't want you to be so bogged down with worry. And that's, of course, easier said than done. But life isn't going to stop because of that. And God understands these things. And that's why he tells us so often not to worry.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I guess, because I've already answered the question, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole God knowing us, and there's a reason he tells us not to worry. And I feel like what's going on right now with the pandemic and the news and Facebook and all the fear that's being spread over this virus, I mean, it's bad. It is. But is it something that we're not going to get through? No. There have been plenty of pandemics that have happened in the past that we've gotten through. We've persevered and we've gotten through. But I think it's really important to realize right now, especially as Christians, that we have an opportunity to show the world what it means to stand up straight with your shoulders back, and to actually take to heart what God said in Matthew 6 about why do we worry, and when our lives are so much more valuable than the birds, and even God takes care of them. So I feel like it's really important for us to know and understand that at a time like this, that we shouldn't be helping to spread the fear or the chaos that's going on, because either way, whatever happens, God is in control at the end of the day. And what is spreading that fear doing? What positivity is it bringing? Is it helping towards a cure? No. I mean, and I'm not saying to not be educated on what's going on. Obviously, be educated, make wise choices.
I think that's the best thing. I think that, you know, educating yourself gives you a sense of power over the situation.
Yes.
Not educating yourself, not bogging yourself down with so much negativity that you're hurting yourself,
Right,
that you're discouraging yourself, but that you're understanding how to navigate everything.
Allowing that stress and that worry that God tells us not to do, I mean, it can make you lose sleep. It can make you not want to eat, make your hair fall out. It can affect you how you're performing at your job. Stress is a very powerful thing, and I think that God knew that, and that's why God says so many times to not worry, because he knows the emotions of man, and he knows what power emotion can have over you, like in a physical sense and a spiritual sense.
As far as like what you're talking about concerning like gaining knowledge, right? Would you say that the best way to put that would be probably intent? Like,
what do you mean by
like
that?
our intention for seeking that knowledge.
Oh yeah.
Would probably be the best way to frame that, because
like, is your intent to gain all this knowledge to
better be prepared,
prepare yourself for what's going on, or is it to worry yourself more about what is happening?
Or
because
you're just
that's
not
a
paying
bad habit that humans have.
or you're not paying attention to the intent at all,
right?
Because that's also dangerous when there is no intention, there is no purpose,
right?
Because I think that's the part that we're slipping up on as a whole,
right?
Is we don't think about the intent. We're just like, well, let's feed ourselves all this information.
Yes,
and
I have like totally disconnected from Facebook because I just can't with the coronavirus stuff anymore. So there's our soapbox.
What were you?
No, that's it. That's my only point, is to just be mindful of yourself and the stress that you're causing. You may be causing yourself, because God warns us against it, and there's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
I think it's more than just on the surface. I think when you're, I guess, a little more immature in your Christianity, you read the, don't worry, I'm going to clothe you, I'm going to feed you. It's more, you kind of think more of like, okay, God is gonna send some type of force that's going to help me get through this moment. But I think it's more than that. Now that I guess I'm older and I read the scripture now, it's more of like, why are you worrying? Why are you putting this extra stress on you? Because that stress is gonna be a snowball effect of, it can really affect your everyday life.
Absolutely.
And it can get out of control really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was well said.